Assalamualaikum and a very good morning everyone. Welcome to today's forum discussion on challenges that primary school teachers face in addressing the digital divide in the context of SDG 10. My name is NATASHA NURALANIS BINTI ZULKIPLI and I will be your moderator for this session. Thank you everyone for being here and your commitment to addressing this critical issue. The digital divide in education is a growing concern, particularly for primary school teachers who struggle with limited resources, lack of training, and infrastructural challenges. As we know, SDG 10 focuses on reducing inequalities, and within the education sector, this means ensuring that all children, regardless of their socio-economic background, have access to quality learning experiences facilitated by technology. So today we have distinguished panels of experts who will share their insights on the challenges and possible solutions related to this issue. So let me introduce them. Researcher 1, Lindsay is the APOLONIUS from University Technology Mara. And Researcher 2, Angelina Lau from a local university as well. Okay, and we have KALSUM, a lecturer from a private university. SUPAMAH, a lecturer from Teacher Education Institute. And we have two student representatives, okay, which are KALASHINI from a private university and the other one is HARIZAH FAIZ from a local university. So let's begin our discussion with the first question. To start our discussion, let's first establish a clear understanding of this issue. Can you please explain the digital divide in primary education and how it impacts learning and what the leading question in this study is? Additionally, why is it important to focus on teachers' challenges in bridging this gap?
Thank you, Ms. Natasha. In the context of primary education, we are investigating a digital divide, the gap in access to technology, digital tools, and internet connectivity that impacts students and teachers in early learning environments. But it's not just whether a school has tablets or internet access. It's also about whether teachers have the training, support, and infrastructure necessary to effectively use technology in the education of young learners. For primary school students in particular, technology can be transformative in promoting early literacy and numeracy and developing critical thinking skills that will serve them well for the rest of their lives. Unfortunately, many opportunities to enrich young learners fail to reach them due to poor digital access and teacher preparedness. Studies led to believe that many primary school teachers remain digital illiterate because they have received little professional development in education technology. However, teachers who don't know how to use devices effectively or don't feel confident doing so may postpone carrying out tech-based lessons. As a result, the learning experience is undefined. Whereas students in schools with adequate resources experience rich digital access, under-resourced schools do not, widening the achievement gap from a very early stage in education. Of course, primary school teachers are dealing with technology in a way that's more complicated than other educators. Young learners often need more guidance than older students when it comes to using digital tools. Teachers are frequently asked to self-learn new technologies, shift teaching styles overnight, and solve problems without dedicated IT support. This pressure to do more under new conditions adds stress, leading many educators to resist the inclusion of digital tools in their teaching. The digital divide is a serious threat to educational equity, and if we do not put in place mechanisms to support our primary school teachers in overcoming this gap, it's likely to widen. This directly contradicts SDG 10, reduce inequality, which seeks to ensure that all children have the opportunity to receive a quality education and access to digital learning, regardless of their background. And this leads us to the question we are addressing today. The central question we are probing is, in the context of SDG 10, reduce inequality, what are the challenges that primary school teachers face when dealing with digital divide? This is a critical question because while many efforts focus on getting technology into classrooms, there are far fewer working on empowering teachers to use that technology effectively. The situation is compounded, even where digital tools are available for educators who are typically confronted with limited organizational support, insufficient pedagogical training pertaining to digital learning, and infrastructure challenges, making it difficult to provide equal learning opportunities for all students. Now let's talk about the significance of focusing on teachers' challenges. Much of the focus has been on students' access to technology, but the role of teachers in creating and sustaining digital learning environments have often been overshadowed. Schools and policymakers can provide students with laptops, tablets, and internet access. Still, this technology is underutilized or misused if teachers themselves aren't trained and supported on how to use it effectively. Moving to digital learning can be overwhelming for many educators, particularly those with decades of experience teaching in classrooms environments. Some may not have basic digital literacy, and some struggle to fit technology into their teaching strategies. In many instances, educators are thrown into adapting new digital tools to use for teaching but are left to figure it out themselves, often with little or no institutional guidelines, organized training sessions, or ongoing assistance. This causes reluctance and irritation with the idea of using technology in the classroom. In schools with access to digital tools, teachers may not feel confident conducting tech-based lessons for many reasons, including the fear that technology will fail, the fact that they have not trained in troubleshooting, or worry that students will switch off instead of engage. And also some educators consider that having digital tools adds to their workload rather than improve pedagogy, especially if they have to adapt existing lesson plans using new platforms to manage students and ensure learning takes place. We need to focus on teachers because they are the bridge between technology and students. But no matter how sophisticated the technology is, its success in the classroom will ultimately hinge on how well the teachers can plug it into their instructions. If teachers don't feel equipped with training or confident in using digital tools, even students won't get their full benefits. And spending on technology won't bring the desired impact. By exploring ways to mitigate teachers' challenges, whether through professional development, better institutional support, or resources at their fingertips, we set ourselves up for a sustainable and inclusive digital learning community. That is the only way we can ensure that students from all socio-economic backgrounds have the opportunity to flourish within this increasingly digital world. Now, it's time to understand how this issue fits into the bigger picture of SDG 10, reduce inequality, and why is this a global problem. So Angelina, I'll let you take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindy. Now that we have highlighted the importance of addressing teachers' challenges within the digital divide, let's understand how this issue aligns with Sustainable Development Goal 10, which focuses on reduced inequality. First and foremost, as we are all aware, SDG 10 aims to reduce inequalities. However, unequal access to digital resources and teacher support continue to widen educational gaps. Addressing the digital divide is crucial, yet discussions often focus on students and overlook the key role that teachers play in ensuring inclusive and effective digital education. In particular, without proper training and institutional support, teachers struggle to integrate technology effectively, and this puts students at a significant disadvantage. Bridging this gap is essential to ensure that all students have equal learning opportunities regardless of the background. And if these challenges are not addressed, they will have serious implications on educational equity. Now, let's consider what the educational implications are. Without intervention to address these challenges, the achievement gap will keep growing. Students in well-resourced schools will progress, while those in under-resourced schools fall further behind. And on top of that, limited teacher training weakens digital literacy, leaving students unprepared for higher education and future careers. Finally, differences in digital education across different regions deepen existing inequalities, which ultimately limit opportunities for both teachers and students. Next, let's outline the research objectives that will guide this study. Given the significance of this issue, our research aims to identify the key barriers primary school teachers face in addressing the digital divide. At the same time, we seek to highlight gaps in existing studies on teachers' experiences and challenges. By doing so, this study lays the groundwork for future research and policy recommendation that will better support educators and promote digital equity in schools, which ultimately contributes to the broader goal of reducing inequalities under SDG 10. Now, let's take a closer look at how this study contributes to the field. The expected contributions of this study are significant. It will help bridge the knowledge gap by focusing on teachers' challenges, an area often overlooked in research. The findings will provide valuable insights for policymakers, educators, and institutions, helping to enhance teacher training and school-level interventions. By addressing the barriers teachers face, this study also contributes to advancing SDG 10, ensuring that all students, regardless of their background, can benefit from digital education. Thank you.
So thank you, researchers, Ms. Lindy and also Ms. Angelina, for shedding lights on the critical challenges that teachers face in bridging the digital divide and its deep connection to SDG 10. Addressing these challenges is clearly essential in reducing inequalities. So to build on this, let's invite both lecturers, Ms. Umi and also Ms. SUPAMAH, to provide an overview of the theoretical framework and the selected methodology for researching the issue.
Thank you, Natasha. Good day, everyone. I'm Umi and SUPAMAH will be discussing the theoretical framework and methodology for our research on the digital divide in primary education aligned with SDG 10, reduce equality. Let's begin by connecting SDG 10 to education. SDG 10 targets inequality, and in education, this includes disparities in digital access. The capability approach by Sen and Nasbam argue that equality is not just about distributing resources like giving school tablets, but ensuring teachers and students can effectively use them. For example, a teacher without training cannot bridge the digital divide even with technology. This directly undermines SDG 10 goals of reducing inequality. Sen 1999, Nasbam 2011, and Atta 2022. Research methodology. Let's explore how researchers study the digital divide. Survey measure access. Example, do schools have Wi-Fi? Interview capture teachers' challenges. I struggle with online tools, according to Creswell 2014. Case study in Indonesia, Rahmat and al. 2023, reveal systemic gaps in teachers' training. These methods reveal gaps between policy and reality, like tablets gathering dust due to lack of training. We choose a scoping review because SDG 10 demands systemic solutions. Unlike a single case study, this method maps global evidence in 5 steps. Aksi and O'Malley 2005. For example, analyzing 50 plus studies might reveal that 80% cite teachers training as a gap, highlighting a universal challenge. This broad view helps policymakers prioritize intervention. Scoping reviews also avoid ethical risks of new data collection like privacy concern with student interviews. By using existing studies, we ensure transparency while uncovering trends such as biases in research. Example, over-focus on urban schools. This aligns with SDG 10 calls for inclusive data, Aksi O'Malley 2005. In summary, the capability approach explains why teachers' training matters and scoping reviews shows where gaps exist globally. Together, they guide solutions like national training programs to truly reduce inequality. Thank you. I will now pass to SUPAMAH for the next segment.
Hi, thanks Ms. Umi, and yes, Tasha, I will continue with our literature review and case study analysis. Our literature review follows Akse and O'Malley's framework for scoping reviews, which involve identifying relevant case questions, research questions, basically like, for example, what challenges do primary school teachers face in addressing the digital divide in the context of SDG 10. Second, identifying the relevant studies where we focus on the digital example like keyword, digital divide, primary education, teacher challenges, and all this. And thirdly, we focus on the selection studies whereby we establish inclusion and exclusion criteria such as publication date, geographical focus, and study type. So to ensure this is really relevant for our research title. And fourthly is about charting the data whereby we extract the key information from each study, example like context, methodology, findings, and limitation. And then lastly, we focus on the collecting the summarizing and reporting result. We mainly focus on we synthesize the extracted data which recurring the themes, gaps, and patterns. This also will provide a narrative summary that connects the literature to the overarching questions of digital inequalities in primary education under SDG 10. Optionally, we also can include a consultation phase with expert to validate and enrich our findings. Additionally, we conduct a comparative analysis of case studies from different countries with diverse digital education policies to examine the strategies to mitigate inequalities in technology access. By applying the AXE and O'Malley framework to both literature review and case study analysis, we ensure our systematic we make sure that it will be systematic, transparent, and also comprehensive approaches. This method allows us to map out the challenges effectively, identify the gaps in the research, and offer evidence-based recommendation to address digital inequality in primary school. And for data collection, we will use a Scholar database such as Scopus, Google Scholar, and ERIC to source peer-reviewed study, though through the thematic analysis we categorize key challenges faced by primary school teachers, focusing on the digital access and also professional training and student engagement. So as a conclusion, bridging the digital divide is critical to ensuring equitable in education for the educational opportunities. Our scoping review provide a structured approach. Additionally, we conduct a comparative analysis of case studies from different countries with diverse digital education policies to examine the strategies to mitigate inequalities in technology access. By applying the AXE and O'Malley framework to both literature review and case study analysis, we ensure our systematic we make sure that it will be systematic, transparent, and also comprehensive approaches. This method allows us to map out the challenges effectively, identify the gaps in the research, and offer evidence-based recommendation to address digital inequality in primary school. And for data collection, we will use a Scholar database such as Scopus, Google Scholar, and ERIC to source peer-reviewed study, though through the thematic analysis we categorize key challenges faced by primary school teachers, focusing on the digital access and also professional training and student engagement. So as a conclusion, bridging the digital divide is critical to ensuring equitable in education for the educational opportunities. Our scoping review provide a structured approach.
I would like to thank both lecturers, Ms. Umi and also Ms. Supamah, for your insightful explanations of the theoretical framework and also research methodology, particularly the use of scoping reviews. Okay, so next we have with us Ms. Kala, a student rep from the system group. So Ms. Kala, could you please share with us about the potential challenges faced in addressing SDG 10 within the educational context and the solutions and also strategies that are proposed?
Yes, thank you, Natasha. As a research student in addressing SDG, especially SDG 10, which is reduced inequalities, we have come across many findings in the researches conducted about the challenges and the proposed solution in addressing the digital divide in education. Through scoping, we have found that there are accessibility and infrastructure challenges where many rural and underprivileged communities lack stable internet connections. Also, students from low-income families may not have access to laptops, tablets, and smartphones. For this issue, one of the proposed solutions is to have partnerships with government and NGO to provide subsidized or free internet and digital devices. Example, in Norman et al. 2022 government initiatives. In Malaysia, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, and Cerdik provided digital access, including iPads, laptops, and data connectivity to 150,000 students from lower-income families. This initiative aimed to bridge the gap in learning device ownership and internet connectivity. Also, through building learning hubs such as Digital Learning Initiative Malaysia, the LIMA, the Malaysian government collaborated with Apple, Microsoft, and Google to provide pedagogical and technical training to teachers and students, and a national training management system to support remote learning. Besides accessibility, digital literacy and teacher training is also a challenge that impacts the SDG 10 reduce inequalities. Teachers' readiness to grasp technology integration in teaching has to be looked into. Students' digital literacy gaps, especially among students from underprivileged families. To tackle this problem, BINTI 2023 has suggested digital training programs for teachers are necessary. Moving forward, Shanmuganathan and Nasri 2025 has also included policy integration in curriculum with embracing national digital education policy, for instance. Many training programs, hubs, and online courses are continuously held to improve teachers' and students' digital skills. This integration of ICT skills in students will help to improvise skills and be more tech savvy. This aligns with LING 2023, where students can peer mentor and help each other. For research data gathering, we should consider marginalized groups, privacy concerns, and cultural barriers. So, mixed method approaches, including surveys and interviews, can ensure inclusivity. So, collaborating with local organizations and translating the research questions to local language can also facilitate ethical data collection and ensure inclusivity for communities with language barriers. Educational policy barriers, such as lack of funding or resistance to change, can slow policy implementation. Addressing the digital divide requires a multi stakeholder approach involving governments, institutions, NGOs, and committees. Improving infrastructure, digital literacy, and research methodologies and policies can ensure equal opportunities for all students, regardless of social economic background. Well, I hope that answers your questions, Ms. Natasha. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kala. That's very insightful explanation from you. Next, I would like to invite Ms. HARIZAH, okay, a student from local university, which will discuss on ethical challenges in researching SDG 10 and the digital divide. And also, I am informed that Ms. HARIZAH will also explain considerations for informed consent on data privacy and also IRB compliance. Okay, other than that, Ms. HARIZAH will also identify ethical concerns specific to conducting a scoping review. Plus, Ms. HARIZAH, please highlight also on strategies to maintain research integrity and transparency. Please.
I think one of the biggest ethical concerns in doing research is informed consent. Students, younger ones especially, might not fully understand how their information will be used. When I was in school, I didn't always question what happened to my personal data, and many of my friends, I'm sure, felt the same. So researchers must ensure that students, as well as their parents or guardians, are aware of their rights and have the freedom to say no if they're not comfortable. Another issue, especially when we talk about the digital divide, which is heavily focused on socio-economic background of the sample population, is the issue of privacy. Some students might not want to admit that they struggle with having access to the right technology. When I was in school, I saw firsthand how not all students had the same access to technology. Some of us had laptops and Wi-Fi, while others had to share a single phone with their siblings or rely on the limited internet available at school. Even now, as university students, we still see this divide, especially when it comes to the specification or device performance, with some of my peers struggling to access reliable devices, high-speed internet, or even having basic digital skills. To add to that, parents, who are also sometimes made subject of the research, might be reluctant to share sensitive information about their income, for example, or sharing their job details or home location. If this information is made public or not handled properly, it could make people feel embarrassed or even unsafe. It is a responsibility to protect respondents' or participants' privacy and to make sure that their stories are shared respectfully. When research is done based on existing studies, like a scoping review, for example, there are still ethical concerns to be considered. If most of the studies focus on students in wealthier countries, the real challenges faced by students in lower income nations might be overlooked. Similarly, if the focus is only on impoverished areas, we are making an assumption that developed cities have universal digital access, which isn't always the case. Even in so-called first world countries, there are low-income families which may not have or which might not have reliable and stable access to devices and the internet. Plus, we need to know that the digital divide isn't just about access, it's also about how well students can use the technology. Now, students in rural or underdeveloped areas might struggle with basic digital literacy due to the lack of exposure, but students in wealthier regions may still face the challenge of being over-reliant on this technology, which can impact critical thinking, cybersecurity, and also responsible internet use. So we need to have access to technology, but we also need proper training in using digital tools effectively, specifically for learning. At the end of the day, research in SDG 10, which is reduce inequality, should do more than just describe the problem. It should also help find solutions for it. There is a need to push for research that includes diverse perspectives so that we can get a fair and accurate understanding of the problem. We need transparency in research for this area, meaning that researchers should be honest about any gaps or biases or privacy risks. Technology is constantly evolving, so is the way people access education. So the digital divide today is not the same as it was 5 or 10 years ago, and it won't be the same. At the end of the day, research in SDG 10, which is reduce inequality, should do more than just describe the problem. It should also help find solutions for it. There is a need to push for research that includes diverse perspectives so that we can get a fair and accurate understanding of the problem. We need transparency in research for this area, meaning that researchers should be honest about any gaps or biases or privacy risks. Technology is constantly evolving, so is the way people access education. So the digital divide today is not the same as it was 5 or 10 years ago, and it won't be the same in the future. If we want to truly reduce inequality, we need ethical, well-balanced research that leads to solutions. So the important question we should be asking are, how does this research help students? How can it lead to real change in policy? Thank you.
So now that we have discussed and identified related issues regarding digital divide and also digital inequality, so let's have some brief discussion about possible solutions. So my question, to the panels, is what strategies can schools, policymakers, and communities adapt to support teachers in bridging this digital divide?
Thank you, Ms. Natasha. That's a good question. A key solution is to increase government investment in digital infrastructure, expanding to high-speed internet to underserved areas and providing schools with affordable digital tools should be a priority. A recent initiative in Malaysia, as highlighted by BAWA 2020, shows that government-funded tech distribution programs have significantly improved digital accessibility in rural schools.
Another solution to support teachers in bridging the digital divide is to enhance teacher training. This is to ensure that all educators, regardless of their background, are equipped to use technology effectively in the classroom.
In my opinion, universities can play a role in bridging this gap by organizing mentorship programs or a smart partnership programs where university students train primary school teachers and students on digital literacy. This would not only help schools, but also encourage collaboration between educational institutions.
Public-private partnerships are also essentials. Companies can donate refurbished devices to school and provide free access to educational platforms. Several organizations have already implemented such initiatives, and scaling them up would benefit thousands of students.
So from the discussion just now, the solutions discussed include government investment, number one, and then improve teacher training, number two, and we would like to have university mentorship programs as well, and also public and private collaborations. So these initiatives, if implemented effectively, it can help to bridge the digital divide and also to create equal learning opportunities for all students in Malaysia. So today that we have explored the major challenges and issues of the digital divide in primary education, we have also discussed briefly the solutions needed from policy reforms to teacher training and also community initiatives. It is actually very clear that addressing this issue requires collaborations between educators, researchers, policymakers, and also private organizations. So we hope that today's discussion has shed light on actionable steps that can be taken to create a more inclusive and equitable digital learning environment for all students in Malaysia. So thank you to our distinguished panelists for the insightful thoughts and your contributions to our forum today. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to see positive changes in this space. And also, good luck in embarking your research on the challenges faced by primary school teachers in addressing digital divide in the context of Sustainable Development Goal 10, SDG 10. So, thank you.